You've got to keep the white and the black separate.
Martin Luther King Jr. was an important role in society during the Civil Rights Movement. King has done many important movements that have been a great change in our century today, from starting the bus boycott to having a march. But you cannot forget the most important part that made freedom here in the United States of America, his speeches. One of his most important speeches was based off the quote, "I have a dream." The speeches took place in many of his marches to different parts of the U.S. It may be surprising to your wonder that they have walked all those miles without using any buses because of the bus segregation, which happened in 1955 and ended in 1956. That year, 1955, was very important because that was when Martin Luther King Jr. became the leader of the Civil Rights Movement. Martin Luther King Jr. had great inspiring marches, but most importantly, his speeches. In 1955 to 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. made life better for all African Americans all around the nation with just one speech, "I have a dream." The "I have a dream" speech changed everything, especially the way the whites treated blacks. He had his special drafters, Stanley Levison and Clarence Jones. They went over his speech and made corrections. He used all of his abilities to write his speeches, and it took him all night. He was up until 4 o'clock in the morning when he was writing his famous speech, and when he finished, he still didn't have the right idea of what he was going to say. When Martin wrote his speeches, he needed complete silence so he could concentrate on what he was saying. Martin Luther King Jr. used a lot of resources when he wrote "I Have a Dream" and other speeches. He was influenced by the Declaration of Independence, Shakespeare, and the Bible. Martin Luther King Jr. really tried to make his speeches great. He wanted to go for kind of the reaction the Gettysburg Address gave for his "I Have a Dream" speech. A lot of people appreciate his speeches.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches really touched my heart and had a huge influence on me. All of his wording and just the way he said it was so great. My favorite line was, "I have a dream that one day in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will join hands with little white boys and little white girls as brothers and sisters." This sentence showed me that the actions of the adults went down to little children. Since the parents were cool to Negroes, the kids were too. The adults called the black people mean names. The kids did also. All Martin Luther King Jr. wanted was racial equality, and I did too.
His speeches weren't the only part of his success. His marches also took a part in it.
August 28, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. had his greatest accomplishment of leading thousands of people to his dream. The March on Washington changed the lives of hundreds of African Americans and was a devotional call for racial equality. King planned his march with civil rights and religious groups, and the march was attended by more than 200,000 people. On the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, Martin Luther King Jr. shared his vision of a better future after his march.
I was on my way home from work when I saw a sign for the March on Washington, and that Martin Luther King was going to be speaking. My roommate from school was an African American, and I knew that she suffered from racial inequality. I told my husband I wanted to attend, but he said that I couldn't. He said that they didn't need me there, but they did, and I went. It was a sea of humanity. I was so happy that there were so many people witnessing this message that just had to get through, and it was surreal that this message really changed the world.
The March on Washington wasn't the only march he ever held, though. On March 25, 1965, King led thousands of people from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. This march was 5 days long and a total of 54 miles. In Selma, African Americans were campaigning for voting rights, which was one of the causes for the march to Montgomery. Fortunately, there were some negative outcomes because of it. Some marchers were chased and brutally beaten or attacked with tear gas. Martin Luther King's dream all started when he came to Alabama and he heard of the Jim Crow laws, which sprouted his ideas for marches, speeches, and the bus boycott.
The boycott all started when African American Rosa Parks was too tired to give up her seat to a white person. This was on December 1st, 1955, and the protest of segregation seating took place on December 5th, 1955, 4 days after Rosa Parks got arrested. Rosa Parks really was not the only person to get out of her seat for a white person. Claudette Colvin also did not, which was on March 2, 1955. Since this was Rosa Parks' second time doing what she has done, she has now committed the crime in which she has to spend time in jail. For the NAACP, this wasn't necessary. Rosa Parks was released by E.D. Nixon from the NAACP. A few days later, Martin Luther King Jr. organized the bus segregation. And the boycott ended on December 20th, 1955, which lasted up to 381 days.
In the United States, white people were very cruel to blacks. Blacks had much less privileges than whites. Until a civil rights activist came, Martin Luther King Jr., and changed the lives of all black people. With that, he had a lot of protests. In addition, his speeches motivated people to stop segregation. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches let people know he was not going to stop no matter what. Lastly, the bus boycott showed awareness that blacks had unequal rights. Even though civil rights is over, we still deal with the racism nowadays, but not on the same scale.
Can't look at me.
Wait,
Okay,
I just drank the wrong one. This is yours.